Following a pretty damn successful release of Sonic Frontiers, we got our first content update back in March, and it included quite a few additions to the game, more additions than changes, that's for sure. We got Battle Rush, a way to challenge all the enemies of each island, and included a way to replay the boss fights without having to replay the whole game, which was much needed. We also got Cyberspace challenges, which is just all the Cyberspace stages back to back with time restrictions, but no tech restrictions. If you, like any true gamer would, manage to get S ranks across all these challenges, you would be able to start a new game in extreme difficulty, along with being able to use Power Boost in Cyberspace under any circumstance. But honestly, after playing this update a good amount and even making a video on its new additions, I was left unsatisfied with a bitter taste in my mouth, just desperate for more. Until Sonic's birthday, following the worst Sonic Central we've ever had, comes a new Sonic Frontiers update, unbeknownst to us that it would be the best update we've had so far, and it's not even close. We got Spin Dash. We got Action Chains. I'm actioning on my chain, I got action on my chain right now, you know the type of shit. We got New Coco, which we had no idea would be worth this much. We got Momentum at long last, but best of all, we got New Game Plus, a way to add a ton of replayability alone. I can keep coming back to this content update and just mess around on the islands. There's enough to do now that will keep players hooked for hours on end. Complete every last thing on the island, including all the memory tokens, and you will get a crown. Thanks. Jokes aside, the 100% for this game is now really fun, but I wouldn't recommend doing it more than once. What we're really here to talk about though is New Game Plus and what benefits it brings to the game. We're going to identify what's good about it and what still needs some improvement. So, we're going to do a New Game Plus run on Extreme with everything maxed out. Well, almost everything. Extreme has its restrictions, but to avoid this intro going on any longer than it needs to, I'll just get straight to the point. Our plan is to beat all the Cyberspace stages with an S rank, beat each Guardian at least once, and get at least one action chain to an S rank per island. I feel like this is the best way to determine Sonic's new abilities, so let's get right into this. Straight away, it feels wrong being able to use an endgame ability right at the start. Cyberspace is absolutely cooked in a New Game Plus. The buffed ranks in Extreme mode are honestly balanced when you look at being able to use Power Boost, Spin Dash, Magnet Dash, and the newly added Jump Deceleration meter, which is essentially this game's version of Momentum. The enemies early game are a joke. You wouldn't normally have any skills whatsoever this early on, so they just get obliterated. Even Triangusias. Stop making that fucking joke! All this is in place even with Sonic stats lowered back down to level 1. And I also noticed that the boost meter is lowered back down to 1 instead of 5. Obviously if you've got all the extra Coco, that's what it is they do, in case you didn't know. Then I felt the need to want to skip the first tower, but that would then mean I would skip stage 1 too, which I can't do. Actually beating the tower was fine, when I eventually tried to, that is. The Spin Dash makes 1-2 embarrassingly easy. Looking back to how difficult we found this stage when the game came out, this doesn't even compare. 1-2 is also the only stage that I think hasn't had the S rank requirement changed in Extreme, but I think the other ranks were changed to go with the 3-second gap between each of them. I've not looked too much into it. The jukebox gets entirely reset in New Game Plus, alongside all the items you collected in the previous file, and that includes Coco, Seeds of Power, skill points, memory tokens, all that kind of stuff. Thank God the default set of songs is pretty good. Deep Woods and Arsenal Pyramid are my favourite choices here. Now that the tutorial area has passed, action chains are unlocked, so we can take on challenge 1-2, which is the second one available on Kronos. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think the scores required on chains are difficulty dependent. The action chain I chose was asking for 500,000 points for an S rank, which took a couple of tries to get. I went for Asura afterwards. You can silo up Asura's legs to grab a few extra gears, and skills like Wild Rush and Cross Slash heavily reduce the risk of you accidentally hitting the laser barriers. And then I targeted Squid. Sad bag of sea salt, oh my god, welcome on! I had never really seen Squid defending themselves before, and I also learned that when you silo up to get them out, they attack right away. So as long as you don't face them straight on, you won't be at risk of any damage. I grabbed the remaining emeralds and then just targeted the Cyberspace stages. 1-6 is probably my least favourite stage on Kronos, but the Spin Dash makes it really interesting to do. It's almost as if classic Sonic level design makes good use of momentum. That's mental. Slingshotting myself over to 1-3, we can continue abusing the Spin Dash in 2D stages. It is absolutely busted in 2D. Magnet dashing is also invaluable, but low jump deceleration doesn't really seem to do too much. I've got all the emeralds, so the keys mean nothing. I left the stage when I got the S rank. I then went to 1-4 and was an S rank first go, not even a challenge. The slopes in 3D along with the Spin Dash, it's so nice. It reminds me of the original version of the Hedgehog May Cry mod. Using spin dash in the open zone to skip puzzles, I can head over to 1-7 and get the S rank in just 20 seconds. The movement in this game has peaked. Being able to use spin dash, a couple of jumps, an extra air boost, and dodging, you can bridge most gaps in the open zone and it's just fun. The last stage is 1-5, and it's probably more difficult if you go nuts with the new abilities. I didn't even get S rank on my first clear of it, but with some extra practice and a few mini skips, the final S rank was ours and we can head straight for the boss. Just for the sake of the video not taking ages to make, I decided to just use the island skip here, since all my tasks on the island are done. My luck with skipping the island wasn't great though. Go! The one thing that hasn't had any major changes since the game's release, the bosses. Don't get me wrong, the boss fights in this game are fantastic, but it's shown in New Game Plus that even on extreme mode, they're far too easy. Some of the Guardian fights are more difficult in my opinion. Using cross slash against Giganto just feels completely illegal. I think the bosses could definitely do with some fixing up to be an actual challenge, but like I say, I still find them fun. Maybe we'll see some changes to the bosses in Update 3, but I guess time will tell. The first thing I did on Arid Island was went straight for the action chain. This took me quite a lot of tries for S rank, but it was definitely worth it. I would love to be able to do the entire island at the same pace as an action chain, but I'm far from skilled enough. The action chain needed around 560,000 score to get the S rank on extreme. I couldn't tell exactly what it was. Strider was, for once, incredibly easy. Build up Phantom Rush and use it in conjunction with Cross Slash and you'll have it down without any need for the second phase. The gear allowed me to get into stage 2-1. As we know already, the 2D stages are enhanced to an incredible level with the spin dash now in the game. 2 proper attempts and I was able to get the S rank and the rest of the keys. 1 minute 2 is not really a difficult target. But it's not like the vault keys really matter because you only need 1 emerald to finish Ares. Having cross slash this early on in the game is absolutely busted. Is the move too strong? Are the guardians too weak? Do they need buffed? Does cross slash need nerfed? But just like all the beefier guardians, Phantom Rush and Cross Slash will cut through their HP like a hot knife to butter. My luck seems to be high, or non-existent from a certain point of view, with the 2D stages. 2-3 is just a weird stage, there's a lot of branching paths and it's difficult to tell which ways are faster. S rank on second attempt, but I got the rest of the keys on my first try. Ah yes! Tank! My favourite boss. Skills don't affect the tornado phase, but they can certainly help a lot afterwards. Don't forget that you can silo up the grounded phase and do a bit of extra damage while it's stunned. Skyrail is always an entertaining stage. The difficulty spike on extreme is pretty high, with 1 minute 32 being the target time for S rank, and me always forgetting where the red rings are. I was here for a good while until I got it all, but I had lots of fun. Against Shark, the chase segment is boring as usual, but when you get to the actual fight, I recommend that you silo up around where it's going to land so you don't get stuck. 2-4, another one of those stages where I couldn't get S rank first go. Still a really fun stage, it's hallway as fuck, but you can make really good use of the game's new features. Honestly, my second favourite style of stage after Update 2. I've not quite mastered it yet, but I'm getting pretty good at using Slingshot to traverse the islands quickly. In a situation like on Kronos or Ares where I just want the portals, it's really useful to get between them. My gear supply was running short, so I took on the other Strider on the island. You need 8 gears to clear all the Cyberspace portals on Ares, so theoretically that was another run of all the Guardians, since I'd only used 4 so far. I also took on another Shark for the gear, but beyond that, I had no patience left for these guys. I used my extra gear to finally get into 2-5, the stage that always reminds me that the one-hit kill still applies in Cyberspace. Not that that's an issue, I have a bad habit of instantly restarting a boost stage if I take any damage whatsoever, but also, they were not cooking with the music for this stage. Back to the Guardians thing, I know fishing is not really worth it in extreme mode, but I just could not be bothered with the Guardians anymore. Honestly, when Update 3 comes out, after I beat it for the first time, I'll probably just run the code that has all the maps unlocked right from the start, because, you know, this is an invalid criticism, I'm just lazy. A gear costs 80 coins in extreme mode, which you can get fairly quickly if you just cook for all the coins. If you want to use fishing in an extreme run, I would still actually fish, because sometimes the value of your catches are much more worthwhile than just straight cooking for like 30 minutes. It didn't click with me right away that I still got some tokens from catching the scroll, but with the tokens we need, we can grab the gears and head for the last couple of stages. 2-2 got split in half with this update. Low jump deceleration is at its most useful here. I had no issue replaying this stage as much as I did. A good stage. And finally, 2-7. This used to be my favourite stage, but as the game's changed over time, so has my opinion on it. I feel like it uses more precise platforming moves rather than fast-paced platforming, but I guess it's all up to the player's opinion. Certain parts of the stage have definitely benefited from the changes. And now, after doing Wyvern Escape, we can use Slingshot to skip the rest of the island and activate the Wyvern boss fight early. Rather than discussing how I beat the Titans specifically, I'm just going to give my thoughts about them post-updates. Giganto will always be iconic to this franchise, but in my opinion, Wyvern takes the cake in every aspect. Scenery, aesthetic, music, except gameplay. I think the fight would play out a lot better if they didn't make the so obviously last minute change to the parry timing. 15 seconds window is pushing it. I think even 1.5 to 2 seconds is good. That's probably still pushing it a bit. Quick side loop against Wyvern is also incredibly useful, but would be even better if Sonic was positioned correctly when he does it, because you can't get as much damage out of it as you might think. He's always out of place. The gameplay flaws are quite a hindrance on this fight, but it still looks cool. I'll give it that. Chaos Island. My favourite island. Going straight for the spider first, my luck sometimes isn't great with side looping the legs, but if you attack it directly a few times you can fill quick side loop really fast. And then the skydiving is just skydiving. Don't take damage. Then I slingshot over to the last cyberspace portal, which isn't supposed to be available just now, but there's a fortress guarding it, and it's my favourite stage. It saves me fighting it more than once. Cross Slash is available at this point in the game anyway. A combination of that and Wild Rush makes short work of the fortress. 3-7 is all 2D with lots of slopes, so lots of spin dashing. Grabbing the red rings was no issue, and to be honest, neither was the S rank. I had to take strange paths for the rings, but it was fine. And then I had to find my way off the island because I wasn't supposed to be here. I then took on the Shinobi, which was just easy. And then on to 3-1. I got so immersed in this stage that I actually forgot I was recording and just decided to run it over and over again. This stage is so much fun to speedrun. To be honest, I didn't even notice when I got the other missions completed just because I had a great time in the stage. 3-2 is that one stage with the spikes I can never remember, but once I did, the stage was pretty easy. And oh man, I cannot stress enough how irritating the amount of 2D on this island is. If there's something I want changed, it's either the amount of 2D or the amount of tokens needed to progress. If I'm completely honest, I think all the requirements for tokens across all the islands should be cut in half after your first playthrough. Because beyond your first playthrough, the tokens get a wee bit tedious, at least in my opinion. And I hate stage 3-4, it's so unbelievably boring. I think it's the rail stage from Sonic Unleashed, I can't remember, I don't care. All I care about is Squid. Still an unbelievably easy guardian. I don't think there's actually any direct changes between it on the two islands. There probably should be. Towers are always really easy because of the terrain around them, especially with jump deceleration and spin dash. It's even easier to get up to the top instantly now. To my complete surprise, the action chain on Chaos was incredibly easy, even for extreme mode. I think Chaos is naturally the easiest island for chains because of how compact it is, and basically anywhere you step, there's something to do. I always struggle to reach the blue emerald, but thankfully the spin dash lets me reach it with ease. I want to get all the tokens before starting the story quests, as well as get all the cyberspace stages done, so I took loads of time to uncover the island. But about halfway through all the tokens, I got tired of it, so I started the story and did shield escape. You can't spin dash here, I guess because Sonic's speed is locked, which is understandable, but this whole segment is pretty uncomfortable to do in my opinion. I was curious to see how 3-6 would play out with the new features, and I actually enjoy the stage a lot more now. I still hate the music with a genuine passion, but at least chat had me sorted out for that one. Fuck off, Andrew. Tell me how can you sleep? Because the stage is longer, I was a bit inconsistent with the missions, but weirdly enough, I managed them all at once, after a long session of death. 3-5 is the drift gimmick stage, which isn't hard, it's just annoying. Sonic isn't moving at breakneck speeds and has much more fluid movement, so he doesn't need drift. Something tells me it was an unfinished mechanic that was implemented in this stage last minute. If you're going for speed, avoid the panels. 3-3 is the Frontiers recreation of my favourite generation stage. I didn't need any more than the S rank according to the rules, so once I got that, it was time to head out and get the story finished. On the crates, just like in my previous video, try not to fall off and you'll be fine. Sonic, what are you doing with that? Next is Bridge, which as we know, you can't cheese by damage boosting in Extreme, as I accidentally found out the hard way, but I already knew that. And then we can finish up the island with Pinball, which to be honest, I think in terms of physics it's fine, it's just the fact that you need 5 fucking million points to progress. I think the issue with progression in this game is that they just expand it out by just increasing the numbers, which in my opinion doesn't really do much to the game. I don't want to sound like I don't like the Tyson fights, because I do. I think they're really amazing, and the image they've created for Supersonic has taken him from a simple extra. Like, come on, imagine if these bosses were a Supersonic fight. The difference it would have made would have been amazing to what he truly should be, a Titan killing machine. But my problem is that he is too much of a Titan killing machine. That or the bosses aren't strong enough. Just look at the speedruns of this game. Stun the boss, spam Sonic's strongest attack, and that's it. The most exciting part of the game over in seconds. This doesn't take any practice in my opinion. Anyone can do this, especially someone with the knowledge of a hack and slash type of game. My honest opinion on the Titan fights is they excel in every aspect except gameplay. I should not have to force myself to take my time with the bosses. They should be forcing me to think quickly and act accordingly. I'm not saying they're not a challenge at all. I'm not saying they're bad. I just think they need a bit of work.
Stop chewing so fucking loud, bro. Leave that little guy alone. The fuck is you gonna do if I don't?
Ouranos has become the biggest grind of an island with 190 tokens. Ares requires 242, but with the island skip you only need enough to rescue Knuckles and grab 1 emerald. I'll make this island quick if I can. There's 9 stages on this island rather than the usual 7. Going straight for Red Pillar, just like the rest of the towers, abuse the landscape you're on to get straight to the head. 4-1 has really fun music. I never thought dubstep would be a big thing for Sonic, but I guess I was wrong. I also really like this stage's design. I think it's one of the best. Ghost has still held up as the best Guardian because there's no easy way to cheese it. You can argue that you can just skip lots of the platforming, but even then, you still have to be really precise, and if the Ghost catches you while you do this, you're gonna get stuck and potentially get hit. 4-2 is a really nice stage for the music, and again, I think it's a really well designed stage. There's a common theme that I think the Ouranos stages are the best in the game, and this includes music. 2 attempts and I had all the keys. I started off having a lot of trouble with the action chain on this island, and I quickly realised that my problem was trying to use the enemies for score. The enemies are much more resourceful on the final island, and naturally they take longer to kill, while also providing the same amount of points as the other islands. Don't even attempt to use Guardians for points, focus on platforming specifically. After I realised this, I was able to get an S rank in just enough time. Against Caterpillar, Quick Psyloop is your best friend. When you've tipped the boss, focus on using Cross Slash to build up Phantom Rush, and then focus on using Phantom Rush to deal damage. 4-4 is that stage, one of my favourite stage themes, and definitely in my top 3 for stages. I was getting tired at this point in the stream, it was really late, so I just took my time with the missions here. S rank and red rings at the same time, weirdly enough, and then the 150 rings after that. There is something I've always done wrong against Kunoichi. I always seem to screw up the clone attack, but I've decided that I go for a parry, stomp jump back into the air, and just keep doing that until the phase is over. Other than that, basic attacks and Gram Slam will do enough damage. Took on another Caterpillar that just went swimmingly. I needed some extra gears and fishing isn't valuable, so I didn't really have any other option. Nice. 4-8 is probably the intentionally shortest stage in the game. I know you can beat 1-7 in 20 seconds, but they didn't really intend for that. It's pretty hard on extreme. 23 seconds for the S rank is not generous at all, so you can't really do all the missions at once. 3 attempts and I got it. Still a good stage. After some further exploring, I found that stage 4-9 needed 3 gears to get into it. 3 gears. I'm not even sure you can fight enough Guardians without Starfall to open all the portals on the island. On stage 4-5, I would have managed it all in one go first try if I didn't accidentally miss one of the red rings. Other than that, low jump deceleration makes this stage so much more fun. All the emeralds are available now, so I can just focus on getting S ranks for the rest of the stages. I took on another ghost to grab a gear, and this one was way harder because of how much ground it covers. You can use spin dash and momentum to skip a lot of it, but if the ghost catches up to you, which it can quite easily, you can fail really fast. Also, be careful because the ghost can surprise you with some traps along the way. The ghost is the only enemy besides the titans that can take rings from you in extreme, so once you win, make sure you grab some more rings to be back to max. Master Ninja is probably the most challenging Guardian alongside the Ghost. On extreme anyway, some hits are designed to kill you instantly, the clone attack for example, but sometimes they just straight up miss. Now on to 4-6, a revamped classic Sonic level that with the spin dash improvements is actually a really fun run. It takes a bit of learning, and for some reason I forgot I only needed S rank, but on my second try, I got the S rank effortlessly. The last ghost is very vertical focused. It's in a valley type area, so you can use the walls to skip upwards to the statues. Next, I decided I needed some downtime and a bit of fishing and cooking for the extra gears I needed. It was crazy more efficient here than in the previous island since you get more tokens per catch. Also crazy how I said I wanted some downtime, but the whole time I actually just ranted about how much I hate the current state of Twitter. Follow my new Twitter by the way. I was able to get the rest of the gears I needed and only 8 memory tokens. Considering how many fishing tokens it took to get that, that's just insane. I also just noticed that the portal for 4-9 is absolutely dripped out, probably because it's the last stage in the game. It looks nice. It's a really good stage, but not much is affected by the new changes in Update 2. There's one short segment where platforming matters, but that's all. The rest of the stage is on the skateboard. It's still a really fun stage, and 4-7 is also up there for me. The platforming is really fun, and the music is my absolute favourite. I can never get enough of this stage. And with 4-3 being the last stage I have left, I just decided to goof around a bit. I still forgot I only needed the S rank. I feel like there's not much to say about Silverhammer. It really is just the same as the Red Pillar. Use Cross Slash to build up Phantom Rush, then just abuse both of them. And now it's just a case of finding the remaining 4 tokens to grab and then take on, please don't flame me for this, my favourite Titan boss. You can disagree with me on this all you want, but I'm going to explain my point of view anyway. In a similar fashion to the Knight, Supreme is practically immune to damage head on. You have to make sure they're stunned first before you can do much. You also can't Psyloop Supreme head on either, your only choice is to break the defenses. And only then will an attack phase initiate, where you can do whatever suits you, Psyloop them into the air or Grand Slam, your choice. It's pretty straightforward, right? Well, yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make, and this goes for all the Titans. Most of the arguments against Supreme is that their design is lazy, which to a certain extent I agree with. A carbon copy of Giganto is pretty stupid. But they've been upgraded significantly, and I actually really like Supreme's look. The other argument is that by the time you reach Supreme, you're maxed out and they're too easy. But we've been maxed out the whole playthrough, which is where my complaints about the other bosses come from. They're all supposed to be a test of your abilities so far, and even though they are still a ton of fun, they don't feel like a test at all. And as fun as the end fight is, it's just a minigame. When I first saw the end appear, I thought we were going to get some sort of Planet Destruction Jerginga fight from the Wonderful 101. Man, that would have been cool. I'll be happy if they change this in Update 3, and I think we're all in agreement on that one. To give my final thoughts on the state of the game in Update 2, it's a fantastic game with a ton of replayability. I love what they've done with the movement, and there's lots you can do once you beat the game the first time. What absolutely needs changed is the difficulty of the game. If we want the game to be more difficult, we should have that option, and I think the Titans are far too easy, especially once you get used to how they work. I still enjoy every aspect of this game and will not be putting it down anytime soon. There's always fun to be had in this game. And as per usual, this video took an incredibly long time to make, so any and all support is much appreciated. Leave a like if you enjoyed and drop a comment down below, I love reading them, and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. Oh, I've been so excited to say this. If you're really feeling generous, you can also join the channel as a member for just £2.99 a month, and gain some extra benefits from that as well, such as special emojis in my comments and chat. They're really cute. And unlike my last so-called promise, I can actually guarantee you that my next video after this is going to be on the new update for the Hedgehog May Cry mod, which will be my second video on the subject, and I'm really excited for it. Big thanks to the creator of the mod, Kirby Crew, for giving me early access to try it out. I really appreciate that. As always, my name is Snack, and I will see you in the next one.